been urged by Human Rights Watch to conclude the inquiry into discovery of 17 mutilated bodies at the quarry in Embakasi last year. Human Rights Watch and Mukuru Community Social Justice Center said they want the state to announce the outcome of the investigations to the public. You can grab a copy, Stories by Caroline Kubwa, and read much more comprehensively of that story. Now, as we continue, remember there was also an incident about Lake Nakuru where a number of people went missing as what was believed to be attacked by the neighboring communities from the neighboring county, that is Ethiopia. Now, the search for the missing Nakuru fishermen continues amid cover-up claims. Story by Charles Mwangi. A search operation for the body of missing Nakuru fisherman Brian Odhiambo ended in futility amid mounting a suspicion that there is a cover-up. Now, the search conducted until sundown on Monday was led by Nakuru East DCIO Samuel Geiwa, accompanied by an informer, Odhiambo's family, and human rights. You can also check that and read much of that story. Now, as we continue, we also see on the same page Memorial Parks renewal from urban ice court to lushness. Now, this is a story of much about Muchuki Park, from a barren, crime-ridden dumping ground to a flourishing safe haven. Muchuki Park stands as a lasting legacy to his pioneer spirit. You can also check that story. Is by Faith Masharia. The John Muchuki Memorial Park stands a beacon of urban renewal, natural beauty, and memorable testament to transformation. Once an overlooked open space plagued by neglect and crime, today it is a vibrant urban oasis that attracts daily visitors, nature enthusiasts, and tourists from around the globe. You can also check that story and read much story about the Michuki Park in Nairobi and much more. Now, moving on to page 4, where we have ministry quizzed over in essential allocations. Now, senators accuse officers of prioritizing capital development items while neglecting areas such as payment of workers and pending bills. The story is by Mercy Mwai. Now, senators were yesterday taken back when it emerged that technical officers at the Ministry of Health had allocated $1 billion of shillings to non-essential items not related to Kenyans' health. The ministry accounting and technical officers were accused by senators of prioritizing capital development items because of the commissions they receive while neglecting essential areas such as the universal health coverage. You can also check on that story and read much more comprehensively of what is in that story on page 4. Now, page 4, on the same page, we see Sakaja taken to task over Nairobi regeneration project. Story by Rollins Otieno. Now, senators want Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja to stop the construction of his pet project, urban regeneration, until the stakeholders are involved. You can also check that. This is after it emerged that residents of Jericho Estate rejected use of part of the land to construct houses under urban renewable project. You can also check that and read that story from Nairobi and much on Sakaja. Now, moving on to page 5, where we see after overseeing swearing in, Amadi wants to head the IEBC. You remember the Amadi who did the swearing of the President William Ruto, and Rigathi Gachagua now is eyeing the seat which formerly belonged to the late Wafula Chebukati at the IEBC office. She has a rich experience in judiciary, but one that's not devoid of challenges. You can also check that story by Ruben Mwambingu. After overseeing the swearing in of two presidents, former President Registrar of the Judiciary, Anne Amadi, is now raring to oversee the 2027 general elections. Born and raised in Kitale, Trans Nzoia County, Amadi is among prominent contenders for the chairperson of Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. You can also check that. We let us see what will happen in case Amadi takes over. We also see on the same page, 3 abducted as US raises alarm over terror attacks. Story by Zadok Angira. Now police are searching for 3 men suspected to have been abducted by Al-Shabaab militants on Monday in Iresuki village, Mandera Central Sub-County. As we see the US arresting alarm on the attack of the terrorists. Story by Zadok Angira. Please grab a copy and read much of that story. We also have another story here on the news beats. That's Oroba still out over her defiance to apologize. Story by Rollins Otieno. Embattled nominated Senator Gloria Oroba yesterday nearly cried after the House refused to readmit her after 30 days of suspension. You can also check that and read more comprehensively. Now moving on to page 6. Now in page 6 we have senators seek details of plans to extend SGR line to Kisumu. That is what we see there now. Now some lawmakers say idea should be pursued and railway extended to up Malaba on the Kenyan-Uganda border. Story by Rollins Otieno. Now the government needs to explain the economic and logistical benefits of extending the standard gauge railway to Kisumu County, senators have said. In a statement read on the floor of the House, Senators Tom Ojienda Kisumu sought to know the impact of SGR on trade, industrialization, and job creation. You can also check that and read as senators question what will Kenyans benefit in case SGR is extended to Kisumu. You can also check that and read more comprehensively. Now a story here which I believe is more interest from Mercy Moi by Mercy Moi. Note it for that. Njoro addresses removal of budget panel chair. Now Kiaru MP Ndindi Nyoro stated yesterday that he was unaware of reasons for his removal as chairman of Budget and Appropriation Committee, while declining to disclose his future political plans. You can also check that. You remember Ndindi Nyoro are part of the politicians or lawmakers who are accused to be aligned to the impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. You can also check that and read more comprehensively. Now we see also pressure piles on Senate over vaccine procurement deal as deadline nears. Story by George Kibaso. That story is on page 7 of the People Daily newspaper. Now pressure is mounting on the government to honor its vaccine procurement obligation as agreed with the Gavi, the Global Vaccine Alliance, as the June 30th deadline approaches. You can also check that story and read. And also look at this story of more interest. Court freezes MSCK accounts for disregarding orders on levy. Now orders barred MCSK from collecting any monies and royalties on behalf of its affiliated members. A story by Alphonse Mungau. Court has issued orders freezing the Music Copyright Society of Kenya bank accounts and pay bill numbers for disregarding court orders to halt its revenue collection activities against members. Now you can also check that story. That story is rich and it is mostly targeting on musicians and those who are in the music industry. You can grab a copy and read much of that story. While on page 8 we see Dutch King defends human right. Now lobby call for action on human rights violation and accountability for all victims following the recent brutal crackdown on young protesters. You can also see that. Now, visiting Dutch King Willem Alexander yesterday strongly condemned violation of human rights and asked Kenyans to uphold all laws that promotes and defends them. You can also check that. Speaking yesterday as he kicked off a 3-day state visit to Kenya, King Willem Alexander asked President William Ruto's administration to respect the fundamental rights of all Kenyan citizens. You can also check and read that story. It is on page 8 and more comprehensively. And a story that has been on in and out for a long time. Right now it is like a running story. That's a story about Waititu. Waititu files petition for release on bail. You can also check that story by Caroline Mukubwa. Now former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu has filed a supplementary petition in another attempt seeking to be released on bail pending his appeal. You can also check that story in his fresh petition before High Court Judge Lucy Njuguna. Waititu, through lawyer Kibe Mungai, asked the court to grant him bond with an alternative of cash bail pending the hearing and determination of the appeal. You can check that and read more comprehensively of that story. That story is on page 8 of the People Daily newspaper. Now today I'm going to take on quotes of the day and thoughts of the day and cartoon of the day as we move progressively to other stories. Now on the quote of the day, that's on page 10 of the People Daily newspaper, we see one from Jubilee Secretary General, that is Jeremiah Kioni. President William Ruto has borrowed 5.2 trillion within a short time he has been in office, captured compared to Uhuru Kenyatta borrowing 6.2 trillion that he secured in loan in his entire stay in office. Now Jeremiah Kioni is saying that for the short time that President William Ruto has been in the office, he has borrowed to a tune of 5.2 trillion shillings as compared to what President Uhuru Kenyatta borrowed in the 2 terms, that is 6.2 trillion Kenya shillings. You can also check that quote of the day from Jeremiah Kioni. That is the Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni. And you see one from Baringo North Member of Parliament Joseph Makilap. Joseph Makilap is saying, don't confuse handshake with loyalty to the government. Just try opposition and you will discover things are tough out in the cold. We are loyal to President and we want to succeed as people and as a country. You can also check that. Baringo Member of Parliament, Baringo North Member of Parliament is saying we should not confuse handshake with loyalty. What is demanded is that Kenyans to succeed as a people and as a country. You can also check that. That's quote of the day. We have another quote of the day from Kwale Governor, that is Fatuma Achani. She's saying, we understand that maternal health is a crucial issue and we are dedicated to ensuring that every mother has access to quality health services close to home. Now that is what Kwale Kwale governor is saying. Now let us get to cartoon of the day. In the cartoon of the day, there is a lot. We see a lady holding a guitar there, and also we see another lady perceived to be Martha Karua handing a flower to her, and that is. Now if you look at this, this is a quote that is kind of this is a cartoon that is designed to see Amadi. We see Amadi, who is yet to take the head of IBC as the chairperson, but in the cartoon of the day we see where Martha Karua is handing her a flower, and at the same time she's holding a guitar, an implication that she's now going to be the guitar person, going to play rhythm for everyone to dance. And we see Martha Karua is handing a flower to her. She's saying, "My sister, use the flower to wipe your tears." And also we see on the other side, we also see a number of images of politicians, cartoon of politicians, one being the former CS, that is this one is Matiang'i. Yes, Matiang'i is there, former CS. We also see Kalonzo Musyoka is also there, and we also see impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua with a crown on the head, and also we see Eugene Wamalwa. They are saying, "Sup, Martha, ask her if she wants to join the big royal." You can also check on the cartoon of the day and get to see that. Now on the thought of the day, what we have: falsehood as an infinity of combination, but truth has only one mode of being. Check on that. That is by Jean Jackie. You can also check on that thought of the day. Now we move to page 13, where we see hearing of athletes. Tirop murder case fails again. Now suspect jumped bail and has not been traced by his family members and lawyers representing him. Now remember the case that involved the murder of Tirop. Now the suspect has jumped the bail and has disappeared. Story by Winston Chesaremi. Hearing of a murder case facing the prime suspect in the killing of slain Kenyan athlete, a celebrated international marathoner Agnes Tirop, failed to take off yesterday for another second consecutive time as the Eldoret High Court. At the Eldoret High Court, you can also check that and read that and more of that story. Still on page 13, we see independent body to be licensed to access PSV in new directive. Story by Zadok Angira. You can also check and read much of that story. An independent agency will be licensed to conduct assessment and conformity test on passenger vehicle body construction and not the bus manufacturers themselves. You can also check that and read much of that story. Now Sonko is on the limelight again. Sonko back in limelight with Rider Sacco. Now former Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko is back in the public limelight after being elected the patron of more than 2.5 billion member of Boda Boda and Tuk Saving and Credit Cooperative Organization and Operational Association. Now Sonko has landed a job there where he's been elected a patron of a Sacco, Rider Sacco. You can also check that and read more comprehensively. Now on page 14, Jubilee starts countrywide tour to market Matiang'i for presidency. Story by Evans Nyakundi. Jubilee Party has started campaigns to popularize former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i as its presidential candidate in the next general election. Check out that. And the big question, will Matiang'i be able to beat Ruto come 2027 and other contestants? Let us wait to see. And also we also see Gideon Moi on the light again, saying Gideon Moi rejects calls to join Ruto as realignment takes shape. Former senator say he does not need president's handshake, but only the handshake of the people of Baringo. You can also check that. That is on matters on handshake and what is believed to be the broad-based government, with an imminent by-election following the death of the area senator William Cheptumo and political realignments ahead of 2027. There have been calls for Gideon Moi to work with President William Ruto. You can also grab a copy and read much of that story. We believe it is of significance. And also we see off decline soil quality, climate change affecting food production. That is on page 15. Now, chemical fertilizers and the impact of extreme weather events are having an adverse effects on yields, threaten safety standards. That story by Faith Masharia. Check on and read that story on page 19. You can also grab that certain matters of agriculture. And in Nairobi among cities at high risk from climate whiplash. Now, reports finds 20% of cities or quarters of billion of people face big shift to extreme wet or dry conditions known as climate hazard flips. And you can see the image there of city of Nairobi where cars are in water. Check that and read more comprehensively. Now we move into other stories, but as we move into other stories, we have also, that is the editor's note, tell your story, mother's love beyond blindness. Grab a copy and read that story on page 18. We believe it is very, very important and it expresses a lot. Now, in brief, it says, despite her blindness, Lily Muriuki, a 24-year-old mother of two, is a fighter, a courageous one at that, though glaucoma has denied her joy of seeing the bright face of her two young children. She soldiers on with hope and optimism. That's a story I believe you can grab a copy and read more comprehensively. Now, remember, BTV brings you what is in the People Daily newspaper. Once again, you can subscribe. Just visit our YouTube page, that is BTV Kenya. Grab a copy. Grab a copy of your People Daily newspaper. Visit BTV YouTube page, and as you read, compare and contrast what we are giving you vis-a-vis what is in the People Daily newspaper, and leave a comment. We'll be very much grateful, as your comments are very vital. You can also visit us on Facebook page, that is Blackman TV Kenya. Also do the same, subscribe, leave a comment, and let us read together. Remember, BTV, your home live TV. And also remember, People Daily newspaper is a free newspaper. Just visit your vendor and read more comprehensively. Now, moving into page 18, where we see Kenya Digital Future, a call to strengthen cyber defense. You can also grab a copy and read that. Turaco hits 1 million milestone in free insurance cover. You can also check and read that. Nairobi transport system set for shakeup in BRT plan. Now, state initiates process for a 14-kilometer corridor stretch from Timol to Jogo Road in its latest push to ease city motorist traffic. You can also grab a copy and read that. Story by Ian Okal. The government has intensified efforts to revolutionize Nairobi's public transport system, focusing on bus rapid transit as a solution to cities' notorious congestion. Now we see the government is having plan to decongest the traffic in Nairobi. Please grab a copy and read that. Now this one I must take a story about our own, that is Governor Ochilo Ayako. Now Ayako breathes new life into aquaculture, boost fish farmers. Now story by Kefa Otieno. For decades, the shimmering waters of Lake Victoria have been a lifeline for people of Migori County. Generations of fishermen cast their nets and drawn, hoping for a bountiful catch to sustain their families in shorelines of Lake Victoria, in Nyatike and Muuru beaches. Now we see the story is about what Migori County Governor Ochilo Ayako is doing to promote aquaculture, that is fish farming in Migori County. You can grab a copy and read much of that story. It is on page 27 of the People Daily newspaper. Now Uchumi's voluntarily arrangement leaves creditors owed over 3 billion Kenyan shillings. Now years after entering a company voluntary arrangement CVA, Uchumi Supermarket is still struggling to clear its debt, leaving critical stakeholders unpaid and raising fresh concerns over transparency in its recovery efforts. You can also check that and read that story. Comeback bid. Can the fallen retail giant rise from the ashes? That's the big question still on Uchumi. With just 2 stores left in Kenya, the supermarket chain is a shadow of its former self, but one that refuses to fade away. You can also see Uchumi has refused to fade away. Story by Noel Wandera. Uchumi Supermarket was the gold standard in Kenya retail sector and dominant force that symbolized homegrown success. Please check on and read much of that story on page 28. And also we see Cusco seeking partners to revive struggling Sacco. Now, despite promise to restore last billion by 2030, the members will have to practice the fine art of patience as agency deal. Story by Victor Mukabi. The Kenya Union of Savings and Credit Cooperative, that is Cusco, is desperately seeking a strategic partner to inject life into the struggling sector. You can also check that and read more comprehensively. And also we see Old Mutual post 1.1 billion increase in net profit. Story by Matthew Ndungu. Check on and read that. Mobile subscription hit 771.4 million. You can also check that. That is as a result of 4G network. That's also a story. Now on World News page 31, we see M23 rebels walk away from Congo peace talks. We see the AU enacted sanction against the 9 leaders from M23 rebel group and several Rwandan military officers. You can also check that and read more comprehensively of that story. Entire families wiped out as Israel bombard Gaza. Palestinians desperate and scared. Hospital flooded with mass casualties after deadly Israeli attack. That's a story from Gaza on Tuesday. Those are world stories. You can also check just preserving Sierra Leone's ancient tie-dye craft. You can also check that. That's also a story I believe is of great importance. You can grab a copy and read more comprehensively. And also we have some notices. Please check out and read more comprehensively. Now on matters of sports, now we see Olunga backs Kenya to seal World Cup ticket from Group F as Stars leave country for Gambia clash in Ivory Coast. That's also a story on matter of sport. Is Okot faster than Omanyala? That's the big question. Is Okot faster than Omanyala? Athletics world is buzzing after a high school sprinter clocked a time of 10.34 seconds that rivals some of Kenyan's greatest. You can also read that story. A new sprint sensation has emerged in Kenya athletics, sending shockwaves through Nyanza Regional Secondary Games after clocking staggering 10.34 seconds in 100 meters race after last Friday, faster than national record holder Ferdinand Omanyala maiden time. Now that is sending a shockwave to Omanyala, knowing that now somebody is coming which is more faster than him. He has to do a lot, but that is also a plus to Kenyans, as we see Kenyans getting into the limelight with the sprinters who is able to take the country to another level of sports when it comes to matters of athletics. You can also check that and read more comprehensively. One step away, Captain Alima Ambachi says team is mentally ready for challenge as they eye ticket to Morocco. That is great. That is Kenya Junior Starlets. Remember, over the weekend, Kenya Junior Starlets managed to beat Uganda. That is 3-0. Now, Coach Halima is saying that the team is ready even as they prepare to move to Morocco. Kenyan Junior Starlets are brimming with confidence as they gear up for their final showdown in the 2025 FIFA Under-17 Women World Cup qualifier against Cameroon next month. You can also check that and read. We say kudos and congrats to the Kenyan athletes. And also we see Mark Elan's World Safari Rally debut. M Sport Rally driver buzzing with excitement as he makes his first appearance in Vasha. Check that from People Daily Reports. That a story I believe is very, very important. We also see here, I was close to dying in a car crash, says Michael Antonio. You can also see that. That's also a story. And also we have also another story here where we see Lionel Messi out of Argentina's next World Cup qualifier. That means Messi is not going to play qualification for next World Cup with his team Argentina. You can also check that and read more comprehensively of that story. Is he the best of all time? Erling, that is Haaland, shatters 30 years Premier League record with a landmark Manchester City goals. You can also check that. That's what shows Manchester City coming into a draw over 2-2 with Brightons. You can also check that story and read. And also we see WRC stars meet the big five. You can also check that story where we see the three of the FI World Rally Championship leading drivers swapped horsepower for a breath wildlife encounter just days from the third round of 2025 season Safari Rally. Story from Nairobi. Please grab a copy and read much more comprehensively. And the big story, that's the cover page on sports. Eyes on the prize. We see Olunga backs Kenyans to seal World Cup ticket for Group F as Stars leave country for Gambia clash in Ivory Coast. You can also see the story there is by Dennis Mabuka. Kenya national team captain Michael Olunga believes Harambee Stars can still make it to 2026 FIFA World Cup despite their current position in Group F of African qualifiers. Let us hope, as we see Kenyan also brought in a new tactician, that is Benny McCarthy. Let us hope the hopes, the practice and the effort that the team captain is going to put with his teammates, together with the ideas that is going to come on board from Benny McCarthy, is going to see Kenya qualifying for the World Cup 2027 as they face Gambia. Let us wait to see that over the weekend. Oh, that brings us to the end of what we had for you in the People Daily newspaper. And thank you so much for keeping tuned to BTV. Thank you so much for keeping tuned with us, following us, watching, subscribing. Have a lovely day. Your host, Gagi Isaiah.
On Facebook as well. Blackman Digital Graphics. Quality you can trust. Welcome to Blackman Digital Graphics. We offer design, printing and branding services using large format printing, offset and digital printing. Our approach to printing, graphics design and branding is top-notch with quality services including roll-up banners, street banners, teardrops, reflective banners, telescope banners, vehicle branding, road signages, mugs, badges, t-shirts, polo shirts, hoodies, pens, letterheads, business cards, envelopes, receipt books, brochures, flyers, posters, calendars, magazines, wedding cards, plastic ID cards, funeral programs, and many more. We also have indoor and outdoor videography, photography, and live streaming services. Visit us at our Migori Market, Onyinjo Bridge, Tiendege Stage offices. Call or WhatsApp us through 0721 379308 or 0736 352224. Connect with us on YouTube and Facebook at Blackman TV. We are on TikTok as BTV Kenya and also Blackman Studios on Facebook as well. Blackman Digital Graphics. Quality you can trust. Welcome to Blackman.